You're exhausted, but you still can't stop saying yes. And deep down, you know this isn't just kindness anymore. It's pressure, it's survival. So even when you're overwhelmed and you're running on empty, you still hear yourself saying, "Sure, I can do that." And then comes the resentment, the guilt, the emotional exhaustion. If you've ever wondered, why can't I just say no? This episode will help you understand what's really happening underneath that pattern of saying yes. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. We are going to pick up on our mini-series of boundary setting, which I've really been enjoying talking to y'all about. So we've had 2 episodes in this so far. I had the one where I just kind of introduced things and reviewed some of that. Last week we talked about 7 examples in scripture that gives us a biblical perspective on setting boundaries and why those are important. And I want to pick up today with why saying no is so hard. But I want to take just a moment here. If this is ringing a bell with you and you're like, man, I know I need to set boundaries, but I don't even know where to start. This is so hard. How do I do this? One, this mini-series will definitely help you. But if you want some more in-depth help, like someone just to actually step into the trenches with you and help walk you through that process, check out my one-on-one coaching. So go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough. And you can schedule a 60-minute breakthrough session with me. We can talk about things like where your boundaries are missing, understanding why your boundaries are so hard to set, identifying patterns you could be stuck in, learning how to communicate those boundaries clearly, and building the confidence and the daily habits to be able to maintain them consistently. And I can help walk you through all of that. In fact, later on in the series, I'm going to have a current client. She's already given me permission to do this. We're going to record some of her session and air it here on one of these podcasts. Where I'm going to walk her through one of the sessions we're going to have on boundaries and share that with you so you see an example. But I can definitely help you in this area to be able to know where to set them, how to set them, just to take small steps so you're not overwhelming yourself with big change, and get this put together so that you can have boundaries in your life that can make a ginormous difference in your stress level and how this is impacting you. So again, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and schedule your appointment with me today. So like I said, we're going to talk about why it is so hard to say no, even though you know you should. Like you're exhausted, but you're still saying yes. You feel resentment, but you're still showing up. And somewhere in the quiet moments of your mind, you're like, there's this question you just can't shake. Why can't I stop? I mean, you've read all the advice. You're listening to this podcast. You know you need boundaries. And you've probably even told yourself, next time I am going to say no. And then the moment comes, someone asks you for your help, your time, your energy. And before you can even fully think it out, your mouth opens and you say, sure, I can do that again. And now you're stuck because you're carrying something you didn't actually have the capacity for in the first place. And you're already feeling overwhelmed. And if that's you, I want to start very clearly right here. This is not a discipline problem on your side. It's not a character flaw, and it's not because you're weak. There's something deeper going on here. We've talked about trauma response before, and I actually mentioned the other day the 4th category that was recently introduced, probably in the last 5-10 years. But we've heard for years that there's fight or flight, right? That's a trauma response. You either fight or you flee. And then a few years ago, they introduced the freeze. And this would be as a mental image of a rabbit sitting there frozen while the snake is moving in for the kill. So sometimes we can do that when we're in a trauma response, we just freeze. And then, 5-10 years ago, they introduced the 4th category, which is fawn. Now, fawn is where you, instead of fleeing from people or freezing in the moment or even fighting with them, you're actually leaning in to help them. This is the one that a lot of people find, quote, acceptable in society because on the outside, it looks like a perfect peacemaker. In fact, it could start off that way. And throughout the discussion today, I want you to keep something in mind. There is nothing wrong with being a peacemaker. We need more of them in this society. That's a good thing, but it can also be abused. And we talk about character strengths on this a lot, and overdoing it, using it in the wrong context. This would be a classic example of that, as taking peacemaking too far. Because the fawn response is where that peacemaking goes too far, for sure. And you think things like, if I keep the peace, if I stay helpful, if I make myself easy to be around, then I'll be safe. I'll be needed. I'll be wanted. I'll be accepted. So instead of pushing back when you need to, when healthy boundaries would say, that's far enough, instead of pushing back, instead of pulling away when you need time by yourself or need some balance, need some self-care, you move towards people. You are more accommodating. You anticipate their needs. You smooth things over before there's even conflict. And again, these are really good peacemaking qualities, but they can be taken too far until you're abusing yourself in an effort to do all that. Because it becomes wired in your system. If you're using this as a coping mechanism in a stressful situation or a survival mechanism, your body begins to recognize this as a pattern, and it begins equating being needed to being safe. It equates being helpful with being valued. You begin thinking that if you're agreeable, that means that you're accepted. So when someone asks something of you, your response isn't just a simple decision. It's not a simple yes or no. It's tied to something much deeper. It's tied to that desire for connection, security, and belonging, which is a driving need within all of us. So instead of, saying yes or no because it's what's right or what's needful or what I'm called to do or what I should be doing, it actually feels wrong to say no because you're violating in your mind and your body. You feel like you're violating that connection, that security, and that sense of belonging. And it feels wrong to say no. Even though you know on a part of you that you need to say no, it still feels wrong to do that. And this is also why you might find yourself overcommitting, even when you're already stretched thinner than you need to be. You feel responsible for other people's emotions or outcomes, saying yes quickly and then feeling overwhelmed later. And underneath all of that, something begins to grow, and that's resentment. It's not loud or explosive anger, but it's just like this steady friction. It may sound a little bit like, why am I the one always doing this? Why does everyone come to me? Why can't I have just a moment to breathe? And then right behind that resentment, guess what's next? Guilt. I shouldn't be feeling that way. I should be grateful to be helping. I should want to do this. This is a good cause. This is a good thing. Why am I resenting this? I should want to be a good mother. I should want to be a good contributor in the community. I should want to work harder, whatever that is. So then you get caught in this loop. You say yes, you feel overwhelmed, you feel resentment, and then you feel guilt. And then you say yes again. And round and round and round and round you go. So I want to help you break free from this a little bit by shifting your thinking. One, you need to understand this is not a character flaw. And I mentioned this in the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. This is not a character flaw. This starts out as a form of protection. It could be protecting in a relationship, protecting your job. If you feel needed at work, they're going to keep you around. And so that's how it often starts. And at some point in your life, your nervous system learned, it's safer for me to be the one who helps, the one who doesn't make things harder, the one who doesn't cause a stir, the one that people rely on. And at the time, it made sense. It may have helped you stay connected in relationships that felt uncertain. It might have reduced conflict in a tough situation. It may have given you a sense of identity, of being the dependable one. And there's wisdom in that. As I mentioned before, peacemakers, we need more of them. Peacemakers are a good thing. But you can go too far with that. And when you're in the position where you're dealing with burnout, a lot of anxiety, struggling with depression, any of that, that's where it's gone too far. And now you just need to readjust that. You just need to start shifting that perspective a little bit. So while that strategy once protected you, it is now overwhelming you. Because life isn't what it used to be. Your responsibilities are heavier, your capacity is lower, your nervous system is more taxed than it used to be, but you're still running on the same pattern that you established several years ago that was a means of survival. Still saying yes, just one more time. I don't want to disappoint them. I got to keep things smooth. Can't ruffle any feathers. So now you're trying to meet today's demands with the survival pattern that you established in the past, and your system is starting to push back. And so that's one thing often when we think of, quote, negative emotions, we think of them as bad things, but they're really fantastic signals. I mean, think about it as a compass. Your emotions are a very good compass. They show you the direction that you're going. It's information. And so when you're feeling this resentment and this overwhelm, those emotions, they're just emotions. They're just data. They're telling you something. You can look at that and say, okay, how do I need to adapt? Because this is what my nervous system is telling me. Not because you're failing, but because something inside of you is recognizing this is not sustainable anymore. And it's giving you some red flags. It's giving you data in the form of feelings so that you know you need to change and adapt. That's what burnout often is at this level. When you get to extreme burnout, and I'm not talking about, I'm just so tired of spaghetti, everyone has spaghetti again, I'm burnt out with spaghetti. I'm talking about physical, clinical burnout, where your nervous system is to the point it cannot keep going. It's not just a tired, it's a soul tired, like clear to your bones tired. Your whole system is saying, I cannot keep doing this at this pace in the way that I've been doing it. I cannot keep doing this. And those systems show up very clearly. Your anxiety starts to spike. Even small requests, little tiny things can feel overwhelming. And you're sitting there telling yourself, I should not be overwhelmed by this. This is not a big deal. And yet you're going into panic attacks. Your anxiety is spiking out the roof because your system is overwhelmed and it's telling you, I'm overwhelmed. You're feeling emotionally stretched thin. You start to shut down or you want to avoid everything. These are all classic symptoms of extreme burnout. And the resentment that we're talking about, again, it's information. This is data. Resentment is often a signal that a boundary has been crossed. Sometimes by others, but it's often by ourselves. I know I found for myself, I was the worst violator of my own boundaries. If I could set them and keep them myself, other people would eventually fall in line and would respect them. But I had to keep them myself first. Your internal system is waving a flag saying something here needs to change. Again, resentment, guilt, overwhelm, all of these emotions that we perceive as negative, it's data. You're getting data and it's telling you something needs to change. So instead of asking yourself, what is wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? What did I do wrong? Where am I screwed up? Try asking, what is this pattern trying to protect me from? And is it still serving me now? So if you set a pattern in the past for being accommodating, being the peacemaker, there's a reason you did that. And it served you in the past. And you kept using it for years, but is it still serving you today? Because awareness is where it all starts. If you can identify what is going on, that is the second step to getting help. The first one is to admit you need it. But if you can identify what is going on, then you can fix it. Just think about your car. You take your car to the shop because you don't know what's wrong with it. The mechanic looks it over and says, oh, you need new wheel bearings. Now you know what's wrong. and you can fix it. And if you don't know what's wrong, you don't know how to fix it. So awareness is super important to healing. And this is your first step. It's just to take a minute to be aware of what's going on. So this week, I don't want you to focus on drastic changes or even on setting boundaries this week. We're just going to take some time to be aware. So we're not going to stop saying yes overnight. We're not going to flip your whole world upside down. I just want you to focus on awareness. So here's your micro step for this week. I want you to hear this very clearly. Again, we're not changing your behavior yet. I just want you to notice. As you move through your week, pay attention to this question. Where do I feel pressure instead of choice? I'm going to say that again. Where do I feel pressure instead of choice? When someone asks something of you, notice. Do I feel urgency to respond right away? Do I feel tension in my body? Do I feel like I have to say yes? That feeling, that internal pressure, that is the pattern that has been established. Not the request itself, not even the person asking. It's the pattern that your nervous system has set in the past that you need to be aware of. Just awareness. That's all we're going to work on right now is just awareness. Because once you can see the pattern, you're no longer completely trapped inside of it. You're taking one step back so that you can begin to see what's going on. And then we're going to build off of this next week, where I'm going to walk you through one simple shift that creates space between the ask or the request for your time and your answer. But for now, let's just focus on awareness. And remember, this is not a character flaw. You are not broken. You've just established a pattern in your life that we're going to try to change. Just a little bit. We're going to take some small steps in that direction. Because any pattern, no matter how old it is, no matter how automatic it is, it can be changed. One small moment of awareness at a time. So again, this week, focus on awareness. Where, if I'm being asked something, am I feeling pressure or choice? What am I feeling in that moment? So with that, I'm going to let you go. We'll come back next week and we'll give you that one small shift that can help you move a little bit closer to setting boundaries and getting balance in your life. Just a quick reminder, if you want some one-on-one help with setting those boundaries and keeping them in your life, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and schedule your one-on-one session with me today. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.